Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news, and after pole position in Hungary to go to 1.8 seconds off the pace in Spa to now being there or thereabouts once again for pole position in Zandvoort, Mercedes apparently have now understood exactly what is causing their inconsistency over the last few races, what they will change for next year as a result, and also how they can fix their current issues for the rest of the season. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. Quick video today, but definitely wanted to drive you guys through this one because I'm very interesting comments coming out of the Mercedes garage the last couple of days. Firstly, thought this is pretty funny there from Fred Vasseur, straight up going for the jugular here with Latifi. But of course, yes, it's been a rather remarkable couple of weeks for Mercedes after going from pole position in Hungary and looking like they had better race pace there than the Ferrari. It was only really Verstappen that was dominant in that race from P10 on the grid to then 1.8 seconds off the pace in Spa. Still, George Russell says he was pleasantly surprised by their solid pace in the race at Spa, but they apparently now understand what's causing these inconsistencies. Now, whether that means they can fix it for the rest of the season for a circuit like Monza, that is another question entirely, right? Because, you might theorize that Mercedes, yes, they might know what's going on here, doesn't necessarily mean they can do much about it. But understanding, of course, is the first step to actually coming up with a solution, and that might be also key for next year's car. So they, of course, are wondering, okay, how come we're so good in Hungary and Zandvoort, and then we're so far off the pace in Spa? What are these key issues? Now, of course, Toto Wolff last week had a very, solemn face on a lot of the time because he was frustrated with the performance of the team. But this weekend, he's had a much more positive face on pretty much for the entire weekend since Friday practice. Very rare that Mercedes look good on Friday and can actually transfer that, to be honest. Now, Toto Wolff said in an interview that I didn't cover for you guys yet after Friday's practice that they now know why their difficulties effectively happen between circuits like Spa and, to the present day. And Russell actually went on to say as well that they now understand effectively why there's so much of a discrepancy between their performance at certain tracks. Until now, they didn't really know what was causing these issues. Now, apparently they do, and apparently George Russell reckons they can now take that knowledge into next year to actually produce a car that can win potentially at all 23 circuits, rather than just a few that actually happen to suit their car rather well.
Toto, good afternoon. If I can quote Forrest Gump to you, which I never thought I'd do, that life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. It seems like the W13 is like a box of chocolates. You never know which car you're going to get from weekend to weekend. Which W13 do we have this weekend?
I thought you were saying run, Forrest, run.
No. What? In regards to what?
Well, we're trying to run. We've been walking in Spa recently. Yeah, it is a little bit like that. We understand now why that is, and you can clearly see it's all about getting the car in the right balance, be it aerodynamically, also grip-wise. And Spa was an outlier we knew in terms of what our car would like. He is one of the better circuits, and you can see we're right where the music plays. But let's see what happens tomorrow.
I'm fascinated by this because I can understand Lewis and George the way, especially Lewis was talking after Spa saying, look, this car concept, it's no good. We need to go to a concept like the Ferrari or the Red Bull. We need to change everything. And yet we hear this all the time from you and from the team that it's a tyre warm-up thing. And if you get everything just right, this car will fly. This car concept can fly. What are we to believe is the best way forward? What do you think is the best way?
I think it's more a question of things you don't see on the car rather than what you see. You can, it's obvious we have a narrow sidepod concept and some other things. The rear floor sticking out more than on the other cars, and certainly that will play a role. But much more important is how have we developed the car to run where low on the floor where we can't run it, and what does it do to our suspension kinematic? And this is why we are at the moment it's just a little bit of trial and error.
Because you would need to make, if you were to ditch it all and go down a Red Bull path, completely different, then you would have to make that decision like 3 months ago or something. Or does the movement in the rules that the raising by 15 mil of the floor next year help you know that this your way is the best way to continue?
No, that didn't change anything. It is more, as I said to you, it's more changing things underneath the car. You can clearly say that the Red Bull runs the car much higher, but in a high speed they're on the ground. So I think this is the right compromise that they are getting.
But with regards to what Toto said coming into the weekend, he said we now understand it's track specific. That's why there were problems with Spa. Going forward for the rest of the season, do you think the car's going to perform, as it's done here more often than not?
I'd like to think so. I understand why we were slow in Spa and understand why we were definitely faster this weekend. I haven't quite looked ahead into the coming races. Yeah, it's quite unique, our car at the moment, and for sure I think these 2 races have been key to our understanding how to make a faster car across 23 races. But I think the positive in Spa was our race pace was still pretty strong.
So definitely an interesting story coming out of the Mercedes garage, because just last weekend Hamilton was saying, look, we've got to write off this car, it's terrible, like, okay, sometimes it's good, but most of the time it's absolutely awful, like, it's so hard to deal with, it turns up one weekend, it doesn't turn up the next weekend, no one knows what's going on. Now apparently they do know what's going on, and look, is that the first step to finding a solution? It probably is. Like, it does seem like Russell and Wolff are more confident now that they actually understand what's going on and the direction to take. Whether they put any more resources into taking that direction the rest of this season, I think it makes sense to do that to a certain degree, because you want to understand, okay, look, if we know what is wrong with our car at certain circuits and we can bring upgrades that should change that and improve it, then let's try that to see if we're actually right about our assumptions here. And I think it was earlier this season when they were really struggling with, they could bring upgrades to the car, but they didn't do what they wanted them to do. They at one point turned a corner and Andrew Chauvelin said, yes, what we changed, I think it was in Silverstone, they added some new parts of the car and they delivered the performance they expected them to, which was a surprise to Mercedes. They were like, damn, we changed something that we thought was going to do XYZ and it actually did XYZ. This is ridiculous. Like, we'd never expected to see the day. And I think that maybe they thought that they now had cracked the code, but since then it's once again been rather questionable. So that's the thing. Also, is Toto Wolff just saying this, like, because it seems like whenever they have a good weekend, Toto Wolff says they understand their issues now and they're getting on top of it, and then they have a bad weekend and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we don't really fully understand them. So maybe this is just another element there in the cycle, but this might be a positive sign for Mercedes for the rest of this year and certainly for next year, right? If Russell says they now understand how to make a car effectively that can drive well at every track, then I suppose, you know, they believe that next year they can do exactly that rather than just being competitive now and again. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.